Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another videos, another paid request, this time for Shawn. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, feel free to send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this time he wanted me to do a commentary on Rocky 2. So I have a pause at the beginning, 3, 2, 1, pressing play. And we're starting out with the MGM War. If you hear background noise, it's people's roosters and stuff. There's nothing I can do about it. Trust me, I know how annoying it can be. And we have United Artists, which was a bigger company back then, but then Heaven's Gate, the movie, completely demolished it. So then it had to get bought out by MGM and such. Now, of course, the first Rocky, huge success, put Sylvester Stallone on the map, Oscar-winning movie. Now, I'll be honest, when I was a kid, I didn't see much of the first Rocky. In fact, I saw Rocky 2, 3, and 4 much more. And I had a tape, a VHS tape, where taped, I don't know if one of them was from TV or something like that, but on one videotape, it was Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, so a lot of times it would be, hey, it's Rocky night, and then just watch all three of them. So all I knew about the first Rocky was the end fight here, which is the famous ending where he's just knocked down, he just back up, I love you, the hug, all that stuff. Like, that's all I knew about the first Rocky. And actually, it wasn't until many years later until I finally saw the first Rocky and enjoy it. But I will admit I like Rocky 2, 3, and 4 more. Now maybe that's because I grow with it more. Call it nostalgia, call it all sorts of stuff that you want, but that is why I enjoy Rocky 2, 3, and 4. And of course you got Carl Weathers there. I would say this helped him put him on the map. Carl Weathers throughout the 80s would do a few other films. He'd come back for Rocky 3 and 4. He'd be in Predator, Action Jackson, which is a fun movie. Now, Sylvester Stallone, after Rocky, he would do a couple films like Fist and Paradise Alley, and they didn't really do much. Because as much stuff as Stallone gets, like, people forget that at the time when Rocky came out, there were critics saying he's the next Marlon Brando, he's the next, serious actor, and this is what he wanted to be. Like, Stallone always wanted to be a serious actor. And what had happened was, again, the type of films he was trying to do, like Fist, like Paradise Alley, like, they didn't do well. And Fist he helped write, Paradise Alley he directed. So, go back to the drawing board and Rocky 2, and that was a huge hit. And then he tried to branch out more into Nighthawks, which you had him looked a little bit like Al Pacino in Serpico. Sort of a thriller, starting with Rutger Hauer as the villain. Victory, which I know Pelé, the soccer player, recently passed away, which is too bad. Also, his escape to victory. That film didn't do well. And so it went back to the drawing board again in Rocky 3. And that was a huge hit. So I say, like, the only film for, like, the next 5 years, if it was Rocky, it was a hit. If it was anything else, it'd be a bomb. So, it was finally until First Blood, which was the same year as Rocky 3, that he finally found a success that wasn't Rocky. And of course, he followed that up with Staying Alive, directing that film, and that did make money, but it was ridiculed. And Rhinestone, which was ridiculed and didn't make money. But then went back to the drawing board. Rambo 2, Rocky 4, huge hits. So that's the thing when you look at a lot of his movies in the 70s and 80s. While I do like Nighthawks, for example, Cobra I love, which came out after Rocky 4 and Rambo 2, but that a lot of people say underperformed. But there's a lot of films I like, but the only true hits he got was Rocky and Rambo movies. And even those kind of lost their because Rambo 3 underperformed, although I love the film. Rocky 5 didn't do well in 1990. And so it wasn't until like Cliffhanger and Demolition Man where he finally found some success again. But this is the classic ending. The music rising up. And that is a way to end the movie. But as the trailer would say, the story continues. Right after, as they're in the ambulance. I always like the version of the theme. Has a little bit of a disco flavor to it. Because, this came out in 1979. So this song would always pop in my head a lot because, like I said, watching these films over and over again as a kid, this would be the first thing I would listen to as I start my Rocky trilogy journey of watching those 3 films on VHS over and over again. And pretty much all the people from the first film return. You got Talia Shire, you got Burt Young, you got Carl Weathers, you got Burgess Meredith. Like I said, pretty much everybody returns from the first. Like Tony Burton, Joe Spinell, which I think is the last Rocky film he's in. Now, Joe Spinell, he's been in a lot of other films too, including Maniac in 1980, among others. Bill Conti, great composer, he comes back for the sequel, as he did great music in the first film. It just always thought it was just a good, worthy sequel. That, like I said, continues the story, adds a bit more flavor to the Rocky character, as well as Talia Shire's character. Actually, there was a novelization for this film, and Sylvester Stallone himself wrote it, which is pretty interesting. That he himself wrote the novelization. I guess if you read the novelization, a lot of it's from Rocky's point of view, so his kind of the way he talks is very prevalent in the writing, at least of his character. And I guess if when it goes to other characters, it's just, quote, normal talk. So yeah, in the first film he went the distance, and now you got the ultimate rematch. So as Rocky says here, he retired. He went the distance. He has nothing more to prove. And yeah, I thought he was a pretty, so Stallone writes the script again, but this time he gets to direct. Now again, he had directed Paradise Alley, but here he gets to direct his first Rocky film, where again he would do 2, 3, 4, and then Rocky Balboa. I mean, even this right here kind of showed his what kind of character Rocky is. Is that even with all this, he just trying to talk and be friends with a doctor. Oh, don't worry about my eyes, my nose, and Burt Young would be in the Rocky films up until he was in Balboa. He was also in Back to School Rodney Dangerfield, and he was in his action film in the 90s called Excessive Force. I remember as a kid thinking, is this guy talking? Because you barely see his lips moving, but of course he is. Just with the way his head is down, he's even. I know he's talking, but his lips ain't moving. But yeah, I mean, stuff like this is what made me a fan of Stallone. These films, the Rambo films in particular. And people knock him as an actor, but you watch this film and you watch Copland, you watch a lot of stuff. He has a lot of range. And people forget just how kind of funny these films are generally and sincerely as well. Like this bit here. His first autograph to my good friend who I don't even know. He's told to write to my good friend even though he doesn't know who the guy is. That's a kind of interesting little scene where he says, "Did you give me your best? Thank you." Getting little bits of that kind of showcase Rocky's personality. Now this guy, I swear, I think that's Paul McCrane from RoboCop, the '87 film, who gets doused in all that stuff and gets hit by the van and blown up. I could be wrong, but it seems like him. This guy offering all this money for commercials. Going to make $300,000. And that's one of those. Sorry, it's one of those things where Stallone's character is a big fan. I mean, Stallone's character, he cares more about Adrian, he cares more about Talia Shire than the money. And it's one of those things where this is why part of me feels one of the main reasons that I have issues with Rocky 5 is that this film kind of already did what Rocky 5 would follow up and do, where you're when your fame and 15 minutes are gone and you're going back to the start, when you're going back to where you were at the beginning, what do you do now? And it's like the idea they kind of did that with this, where it seems like he's going to do all these commercials, but he can't read, he can't do that, he's illiterate. So then he slowly is going back to the start, working these little jobs here and there. And this is like Stallone knew how to write this character. I mean, instead of saying "marry me," he's like, "Hope you wouldn't mind marrying me too much." This is he traded you a lovable character that people could easily root for. Now I don't know if this is like the real snow and real cold because you saw the breath coming out, so maybe it is. And they decided to shoot at the right time. I don't have much information on the film because there's been no documentary really on the sequels, which is mind-boggling. That's what I mean, like her saying "I do" and him going "thanks." Now I think this guy, the religious guy, I don't know if he comes back in was it Rocky 5 or someone else where I know like someone does this and he's like, I love when he does that. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering. There's Joe Spinell on the right there. Far right. And yeah, I believe this is the last Rocky film he was in. I believe. So something must have happened between the two. I don't know what those details are. Roddy doesn't know the difference between condom and condominiums. And in a way, it's kind of the first to look into, again, then this guy, he's a lovable guy. He's not nearly a scientist or anything. Smartest guy, even though he's trying. I think here you have Frank Stallone, Sly's brother, doing a bit of scening. Frank Stallone, of course, Sly would try to give him as many films as possible, singing. Like he sang the song at the end of Rambo 2, Peace and Our Love. But I was saying there's really not much I could talk to in terms of making up because, to be quite honest, but there's now a whole lot of making of material. Like I said, there's really no... It's ridiculous. I mean, there's documentaries, of course, on the first one, but there's nothing on the sequels. Especially 2, 3, and 4. and they were each a huge success. They helped make Rocky the brand that it is in the pop culture. They're highly loved by a lot of people. So again, the fact that there's, I know there's a bit at one point where I forget what channel it was, and they did talk a little bit of Rocky 2, 3, and 4, and you got like a little bit from Dolph Lundgren talking about Rocky 4, a little bit of, I think, Tommy Morrison talking about Rocky 5. I forget what it was called, so you got a little bit of that. But not a whole lot, that a film like this and the others deserve. Now, I know you got Rocky 4 Director's Cut, which I wasn't a fan of, because I don't think it needed Director's Cut. I know there's talks that he's going to do the same for Rocky 5. I mean, technically he didn't direct the film, so it's kind of weird to do a director's cut when he wasn't the original director, but I guess somehow he's doing the... But that's the other thing. I mean, whoever owns the Rocky films, it's... With all the trouble it seems that Stallone's having with some of them folks, the fact that they give him the opportunity to do it, instead of just telling them no. Okay. But yeah, I have no issue with them doing Rocky 5. Because of the first 6, that is my least favorite. But yeah, it's one of those things where they said, I don't know. It's one of those things that it just kind of a bit mind-boggling to me that these don't have like each one a full special edition. Like I said, I think that's a bit mind-boggling to me. That's a bit confusing to me. That's a bit strange to me. I think that's just me saying about all that. Now, of course, this is him doing all this stuff because thinking he's going to make all this money, thinking he's going to get this $300,000, and then not the case. And again, this kind of like one of the many reasons I don't like Rocky 5 is just it felt redundant because some of that stuff was done in this one. You get a taste of the rich, or you get a taste of the good life, and then it's taken away because of X, Y, and Z reasons. Also, it's kind of interesting that you see these tighter references. Like you have the tiger in the zoo, you got this tiger with the shirt, on the back of the shirt. Like I say, it's interesting because, oh man, I think the Blu-ray I have skipped. So sorry about that. I guess the Blu-ray I have is a bit stuffed up, so it skipped to 24 minutes and 7 seconds. So I'll wait a second for those who want to follow through and with me. But 24 minutes and 7 seconds. Sorry about that. Again, this Blu-ray I guess is not pristine. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. But pretty much him convincing her to buy this jacket. I would want to say it was interesting that all this stuff with the tiger and what's one of the most famous songs in the soundtrack of Rocky 3, the next one, Eye of the Tiger. So it's like, again, like Rocky was wearing this tiger shirt. Did he have the tiger? in this place here. It seems like a very nice place. It seems like a very nice place to stay, very nice place to do all this stuff. Seems that it would work really well. But yeah, that's the thing. Even if you buy a place, you gotta pay the taxes and stuff. Again, this is a guy that just very, I mean, you can call him naive, you can call him all sorts of stuff, but just wanting the best for Adrian, of course, wanting the best for her. And it's like, now, there's not a whole lot of Carl Weathers used in this, but even that story's a bit interesting where you compare with the first one, he's much more fun, as in, this is no big deal. And then this one here is, he's been called a fake, he's been called a phony. He said the fight was fixed. How much did he get paid off? Yeah, how much did he get to tear that bum? Which brings into why he wants a rematch so badly, is all these people calling him a fake, a phony, all that stuff. Just pretty much just telling the story of like, why do we have a rematch? Why does this come into fruition? And again, both men have their reasons. One is pride, and for Rocky here, it's a payday to continue their possible lifestyle. You have a chance, a taste of it, and do you want to let it go and get away? And that was kind of the depressing thing about Rocky V, is that it does. All the stuff they worked for in these first 4 films, it's just gone. Although, great, I guess you would say they still had their family, but it's like, wow, that was all just waste away. Just depressing. I think Rocky Balboa is like, oh, let's kill off Adrian, Talia Shire's character. But I thought, it had some really good, like Rocky Balboa I still really like, because it has some really strong emotional moments, some of the strongest in the whole franchise, whether it be him mourning and crying over Adrian, or whether it be the speech at the boxing commission, or even Burt Young's character breaking down. And so really strong dramatic moments in that make that film memorable to me. Now this showcases that they're gonna have a baby. They're going to have a kid. I don't know what is up with this Blu-ray. Okay, 29 minutes, 28 seconds. Now here's where you get into the commercial, which is one of my favorite parts of the film. It's something I always remember from this movie. Beast Aftershave. Mrs. Rocky did. Doesn't even know his last name, just Mrs. Rocky. He has a pretty goofy outfit. Looks like Bam Bam from Flintstones. As a guy that, the sad thing is that no one got into the impression that he couldn't read and couldn't read that well. And they didn't really get that. Beast aftershave. Smeal mainly. I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but I mean, that goes into the first problems with this is in the morning splashes on my face, and it does smell manly. Smell like a jungle rat. uh, yeah, you can't say rendezvous. And this is a guy that he's meaning well. He's not doing this on purpose. He's making a simple mistake. It's just again lack of schooling and stuff. You kind of wonder maybe a part of this is from Stallone's personal history with the way he talks, and I mean he's not illiterate, far from it, so maybe not that portion, but just this whole bit where the way he talks. God, I don't know what it is. I guess I'm gonna have to get another Blu-ray because this one is jumping all over. So sorry about that, folks. Okay, now is at 34 minutes and 27 seconds. I mean, sorry about that, folks. Yeah, I guess I have to get a new. I don't have a DVD of this film. I would put it in. So 3, 2, 1, press and play. Because now that's his commercial stuff going up in flames. He's not going to get that $300,000. I mean, I don't know how much of that he got paid. I mean, I guess nothing because they didn't even get one commercial done. Now, granted, you would think at the very least, okay, commercial isn't his theme, but merchandise would be the thing. You just still do the dolls. You just still do all the other stuff. So I don't know why you would end it just because of the commercial. Okay, he's not good at doing commercials. Well, then you do commercials where he doesn't talk. So I would say that guy's not good at his job. You go, okay, he's not good at talking, but do a commercial where he's fighting. Do a commercial where he's training. Do a commercial where he's, punching the bag. And you just put narration over it. Like, why not just do that? And that's what you do. You work with the person. You work with their limitations. Like, literally, you could do him weightlifting, training, running, punching a bag. And just do that. Now, this is him trying to get any type of job. Sorry about the stomach rumbling. Haven't eaten yet. It's my fault. Now there's Frank McRae on the right there who gets Rocky this job. Frank McRae, of course, would work with Stallone in Lockup, which came out much later. Just, I forgot Frank McRae was in this, but yeah, he was a captain in 48 Hours. He was the captain, Last Action Hero, National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1. Like I said, he was one of the prisoners that helps Stallone out in Lockup, which is an underrated film that sadly did not do well at all. That's the thing when you look at the action stars, like you see that Arnold Schwarzenegger had a better track record in terms of box office than Stallone. Because you look at Arnold, he had Conan the Barbarian, he had Commando, he had The Terminator, he had Predator, he had Total Recall in 1990. I mean, it seemed like more variety of films. I mean, Red Heat didn't make a lot of money, although it's a fun one. But, yeah, there you go. Oh my god, the stupid roosters. I apologize. It's like everything's going wrong. It's just the roosters, the stomach, the pausing, all this stuff here. Just annoying as hell. And I have to reply to something important. And sorry about that. Sadly, that happens a lot. Cutting bad manpower, and even though you didn't do anything wrong. Sadly, that happens. Things are tough all over. And sorry about this. I have to respond to this. And sorry about that. Had to respond to something that was pretty serious, so. But of course, in this whole thing here, it's pretty much how he has to get rid of all this stuff and go back to basics. And this is him thinking on wanting to fight again. Of course, Adrian's not going to like it, but. Again, this is a guy you feel sorry for. This is a guy that you just feel, this guy who's going through a rough time, doesn't deserve it, doing the best that he can. He recommended I don't fight. I recommend that I do. Now, of course, sometimes throughout these films, there's certain stuff that brought up and then it's kind of forgotten. I mean, like, for example, I don't think there's another Rocky film that brings up his eye. It was very prevalent in this movie, but look at the beating he takes in Rocky 3 at his Clubber Lane, and then Ivan Drago, and there's no word about his eye getting screwed up or going blind, so it's kind of one of those things that gets forgotten. Same with he's got brain damage in Rocky 5, but then in Rocky Balboa, it's like, so does he not have brain damage anymore, or he does, but then that's fine? Even if he's older, it's just. Just one of those things that gets brought up and very important point, but it's like, well, wait a minute, what about the follow up of it? So this is Rocky's turmoil that his pregnant wife has to work, and he doesn't want that to happen, but feels guilty, feels bad about it. Maybe feels bad, wishes that he could have done better in terms of the commercial, all the other stuff. trying to think. This has been a while since I've seen this, so I'm trying to remember all that happened. Oh, I was about to see Mickey. Which I know he rebuffs him, and then sees Carl Weathers talking crap, and then he goes, "We should knock his block off." But at first it's because he wants to protect the guy and go, look at your eye, there's a blind spot, this guy could easily hit you from there. Now, Burgess Meredith, I mean, this is a guy that, of course, had acted on a lot of things. But this is definitely a franchise that gave him a new rebirth, so to speak. Now, because of that, I mean, he did some films throughout the 80s. Well, after his success of Rocky, he did a bit more work after that. I would say probably the other film I remember him the most is, other than this is number one, but I guess Grumpy Old Men, playing Jack Lemmon's dad. This is where he tests out the eye. But yeah, the other eye, bit of an issue. Yeah, that didn't quite help out. I like that. He would hurt me bad. No, he'd hurt you permanent. That's a good line exchange. Probably Mickey says yes to this because he knows how Rocky feels, because he probably went through either the same or similar circumstances. Maybe not the exact same of going the distance with the champion, but wanting to be around boxing no matter what. Yeah, the eye thing they kind of disregard, and if they do mention it, I don't remember them mentioning the eye thing in the other sequels. I mean, I would say Rocky 4 is my favorite of them. I mean, yes, I know it's looked at as one giant music video, but it's a very fun, cool music video. And there's Tony Burton. Tony Burton sadly passed away and did a great job in John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13. And of course, he was in the Rocky films, even turned up in Rocky Balboa. They start building some hurting bombs. I like this bit from Tony Burton here. I saw you beat that man like you never saw no man get beat before. And the man kept coming after you. Like the idea of the title, the way he's describing Rocky is kind of like how people were describing Clubber Lang in Rocky 3. Let it go. That's like First Blood. Let it go. Let it go. And if he did let it go, he would have still been the champion, but there you go. Apollo Creed versus the Stallion Chicken. Oh, it still got his tighter shirt. I mean, even when you watch films like this, you just see how much better film looked back in the day, let alone doing digital today. How back in the day you had to deal with natural lighting, not try to fix things post-production with filters that make it look more fake and phony. It's like we have to light it as well as we can and take our time during the filming to make sure it looks the best, because there are no second or third chances. So it feels more natural, it feels more real, it looks more real, but at the same time it looks like a film itself. Now a typical film it'd be, okay, now it's time to have a fight, and then you have a one-on-one fight, you put in an action scene, but again, this is still more of a drama. I guess you say these at times it just seemed like an action with the boxing and training and stuff, but it was drama, sports drama, however you want to put it. Hey there, sorry about that. Had to get something done real quick, so I'm paused at 55 minutes and 6 seconds. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. As Joe Spinell is talking to Rocky here. I say Joe Spinell, he's in quite a few films back in the day. Maniac in 1980 is the one I remember the most. Like I said, I can't remember if this or the third one is the last time we see Joe Spinell. If he's in the third one, it was very briefly, but I keep thinking this is the last time. Pretty much Rocky wanting to go the straight and narrow path. As Adrian was trying to do the best she can. overworked, stressed out, pregnant, all that stuff. Yeah, what makes them the work is that they did have really good chemistry with each other and they worked really well together. Very touching, sweet love story. That's one of the big things that made Rocky a success. I'll admit the love stories may be less prevalent in 3 and maybe even 4 more so, although it's still there, but less so than the first two. But I think we see these turtles. I don't know if it's supposed to be the same ones because turtles live for a long while, but in Rocky Balboa we see him feeding turtles as well. Because Rocky Balboa, that came in Stallone's life where Rocky 5 disappointed critically, commercially, with fans. Even Stallone himself, he's not a fan of it. I don't blame him. Not the word print version of Rocky 5, I do think is a better version of the film. I can watch that and not mind it. I'll watch Rocky 5 more than any of the Creed movies, but at the same time, it just, I don't know. It's one of those things where it has a lot of issues. So you get into Rocky Balboa, that was a time in Stallone's life where things were not going the best professionally. I mean, when you enter the 2000s, there were not a lot of hits under his belt. I mean, you had Driven, that didn't do anything. Even the late 90s. Like, when you got to the mid-late 90s, the star power was sadly dwindling, where Judge Dredd did not perform well. Copland is a great movie, but that didn't really do that great and did not get much of anything award recognition wise. Was not as critically acclaimed as I think it should have been. So like Copland seemed like that'd be his new direction, and it's a really, really good film, but did nothing. And then I'm trying to think. Like Driven wasn't that good. That didn't perform well. You had his films starting to go direct to video, which was not normal for Stallone films. I mean, they were the big budget blockbuster movies. But again, when you really look at his films, other than a Rocky or a Rambo film, very few outside of that became big hits. Cliffhanger, Demolition Man, Expendables, at least the first one. Him being in Suicide. Well, even that film didn't do well. But he's doing a good job in the Tulsa Teen Show, I will say that. I'm trying to think of the. Sorry, that's what I'm drawing a blank. I'm trying to think of the other films that he did during that time. ICU, which I really enjoy, but that was supposed to go into theaters. That supposedly was so bad that was abandoned, went straight to video. Was known as Detox, and then became ICU. I think it's a really good film, but it was. I'm in the minority on that. Avenging Angelo, which is kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel there when you get to films like that. And then he was doing these bit parts like Shade. Not a bad movie about card playing, but he had a bit role in that, and that mostly went straight to video. And it's just like, well, look where I'm at now. Look at the films I'm doing. Look where they're going. I'm not in the spotlight anymore. I'm not going to get those paychecks anymore. What am I going to do? So, goes into getting Rocky Balboa done, and no one wanted to do another Rocky film. They figure Stallone, kind of like Rocky Balboa himself. His star has faded. It's past. It's long gone. Rocky 5 wasn't that good. All this other stuff. So it gets into all that, and real quickly, this is also interesting, is that we see another Apollo Creed. In the first one, he was brash and cocky and all this other stuff, but now he takes this absolutely serious. All business, no play. No big entrances, no glorious entrances. I don't know, he looks pretty mad. So that's, yeah, as they said, that's the reason why he's doing it. The pay for it's going to be very big. And you see just the complete different personalities between the two here, Apollo and Rocky. Idea Rocky doesn't know what the word derogatory means. But again, you get another more focused, more mad, more angry Apollo Creed, which means there's going to be potentially a tougher fight. I didn't want to hurt your feelings. We need grease lightning speed. So that's where we're going to get a bit more into the training. Of course, you know, like the cliche, it's not going to go the best, and then something's going to happen, and then he's going to, you know, have the montage and the music. But it's kind of comfort food. It's what you want. And, you know, after Rocky, you see a lot more of these type of films, whether it be the Karate Kid films, whether it be, yeah, No Retreat, No Surrender. A lot more of these movies. Going later, the sidekicks, all this other stuff. I mean, after Rocky, how many films incorporated the training montage? I can't remember many before Rocky, but after it, pretty full force in that nature. Nowadays, it's like, well, we can't do it just now. That's cliche. But in a way, that's you're giving the audience what they want. It's like we do want some ingenuity or some differences, but you also gotta give them kind of a bit of what they pay for as well. I do like the line coming up. Feel like a Kentucky Fried Idiot. That line's coming up in a bit. Yeah, here it is. I like Mickey's line delivery coming up. If you do, I want to use this other arm. If you do, I'm going to chop it off. And then that really shows Apollo's speed and just how serious he's taking this. No more playing around, no more dressing up like George Washington, just complete, utter seriousness. Carl Weathers is one of those guys that goes the whole thing. Should have been a bigger star. That motif. But I mean, Sally Action Jackson seemed like it did okay, but then something happened and he didn't get more starring roles. I mean, there was a quote a movie that became, I think it was a pilot of a TV show, but then it wasn't really picked up, so they turned to a movie. I forget what it was called though. It's one of those titles where it was the person's name. But the thing is, when you watch the film, it just has the budget of a TV. It is meant for TV. And then you get into the 90s, and again, Carl Weathers didn't really get to do a whole lot. I mean, I don't remember much of the movies he did in the 90s. I know he did later on some TNT made for TV movies with Hulk Hogan, and he was the co-star of them. Well, I guess in the 90s he was in Happy Gilmore with Adam Sandler, trying to help Adam Sandler golf. Of course, it's showing just her pain, not being, a muscle bound woman, then being pregnant, and just her body not be able to handle it. The stress, the worry, hard work, all that stuff. All that stuff going on. Yeah. Sorry, now I'm just watching the film. I mean, when even Paulie is noticing that your head's not screwed on tight, you know something's up. So the way Paulie looks at it is that, Paulie thinks Adrian's guilting him and he's not training as well as he could. There's the thing in the back of his head is what Adrian is thinking, what Adrian's worried about, that Adrian isn't happy about this. That's why earlier in the film he said, without you, I wouldn't be here. But I mean, it's following the characters' journeys. I mean, of course, the wife ain't going to be happy about it because she's worried first and foremost of her love being hurt, and then gives what is the proper motivation for Stallone and his character to do this fight and win. I mean, there's monetary gain, of course, which is part of it. Be able to win, but I'm sure Stallone as a writer wanted to have something more prevalent, is that seeing his wife go through this ordeal, her coming out and saying win, to do it for her, and that's what he's doing, and not for the money, not for the fame, not for the crowd, but for her, because she told him win. As she puts it, I love him, you don't. Sorry, I'm just great actors doing their business, like Burgess Meredith and all that stuff. And it's stuff like this that really makes it prevalent to Burt Young's performance in Rocky Balboa, where he's like breaking down and saying he wish he treated Adrian better and all this other stuff. Like I said, very prevalent in that performance. Definitely one of Burt Young's finest hours in terms of acting. And one of the many things why I enjoy Rocky Balboa. But yeah, like I said, Rocky 2, straining, overworked, yeah. Very worthy sequel. Rocky 3 is a big jolt of adrenaline with the Eye of the Tiger soundtrack and the intensity of Mr. T as Clubber Lane and all that stuff going on. And, a guy overcoming his fear because a guy whooped him so much the first time, so he overcome his fear and try to take it head on in the rematch. Like I said, Rocky 4, you got his most intimidating opponent in Ivan Drago. You got... I don't think Apollo Creed needed to die. That's one thing I disagree with the film, is that you could have easily... I mean, speaking of, I mentioned No Retreat, No Surrender and Karate Kickboxer. Kickboxer also followed the Rocky formula, of course, where Van Damme's brother, gets paralyzed. You could easily do that. I think Stallone does a good job in this too. We gotta see them together. And first and foremost, that's what he cares about. Doesn't care about the training, doesn't care about the other stuff. This is what he cares about first and foremost. Again, the Shawn, if he's watching, I apologize for all the problems and the issues with either the Blu-ray freezing, or I had to stop and take care of something serious and all that stuff. Just the way it is with this whole area that I'm at. Just one problem after the other just puts a strain on you. Just a lot of stress. I feel like Adrian in this movie, just a lot of stress and just a lot of stuff just building up more and more. Just I'm trying. I am trying. It's one of those things that pretty much Mickey's talking to a wall because, to him, his wife is what matters the most, not a title. I thought this was kind of a weird decision from Mickey to, his wife's in a coma. You really think he's going to care about the title? Like, if he did this speech before all this, it would make a bit more sense. Like in the locker room. That would maybe make a little bit more sense. Like I said, I think this would have been more appropriate in the locker room because it just makes Mickey a bit of a, I don't know, extremely out of touch. Because again, it's like, the guy's wife is in a coma. I mean, again, you think, guess the neighbor's rooster feel the same way. But I guess in his own way, kind of just, I'll stick with you no matter what and sit here. I'll stay and pray. What have I got to lose? Now, Rocky 5, I keep mentioning I have issues with it. Maybe people are like, what are your issues with it? Again, I don't care for the fact that, they built all this stuff up and everything goes away because of Burt Young's character. Like, everything goes away from the money, the house, like everything they built up and worked for in the first 4 films seem as if that was all pointless. kind of retreading the same ground as this one did, although I think this one did it better. I mean, of course, because of the passing of the characters, you're not going to have Burgess Meredith. Well, I guess you do, actually, which was a bit weird because yeah, he's so much older, but he's supposed to be playing much younger. I mean, it was great to see Burgess Meredith one more time as Mickey. The whole rap angle of the music I was really big on. I mean, the music I liked was Measure of a Man by Elton John. I do like that. Stallone's performance, because he's portraying a character that's supposedly much more brain damaged, that the line of performance that Stallone plays, there's a fine line where if you push it, you go almost in a parody fashion, and that's kind of what it was almost dealing with in Rocky 5, with being even bigger with his accent and the way he talked and the way he said the words, and just other than, I would say, well, actually, I guess Creed is a performance I didn't care for. Other than that, it would be Rocky 5. But yeah, it's one of those things where Tommy Morrison is just, when you compare him with all of the other villains, it just, I say villains, but Clubber Lang and Apollo Creed and Ivan Drago, he just doesn't measure up. I would say even Mason Line Dixon, yeah, I get it, he's not the most memorable opponent either. But I don't know, and they were both professional boxers, so they could go in the ring. Maybe because you have the Don King type of character, so it made it seem a bit. Although Don King himself was a character as well, and the actor was just portraying that type of character. A lot of that film just felt off to me. But it does have its good stuff. It does have its good moments. Again, like the Warprint version, I thought was a much better version than this. I mean, than the theatrical. Now, Creed and Creed 2, I'm not a fan of at all. Like, I'm not a fan of Michael B. Jordan's performance. I'm not a fan of the character that he portrays. I think he's a very unlikable character. I'm just not a fan of it at all. Didn't do much of anything for me in terms of the character like that. Really did not care for it at all. That's just me, though. Here Adrian wakes up with Folgers in her cup. No, not really. I don't know if it specifies how much time has passed. Mickey's I forgot he said that. He's like, is that it? I mean, as opposed to what, Mickey? You thought I was going to be alien or something? Or, like, what else did you think? I thought that was a decent detail that the kid has hair, because it's been enough time that, hair has grown. I think that is one of his actual kids as the baby. And he has, Sally Sage, passed away way too early, and I don't think that's Sage. I forget which kid that is though, but I think he's one of Sly's kids. I love Mickey's reaction. And you got the classic Bill Conti music displaying to once again give him the fire and energy. And this thing, it's not for the fame, the glory, it's for Adrian, which is so kind of the meaning that matters the most is her saying that. It really pumps the audience up. And that's the thing, you have to do another training montage, but you have to not be too much of a copy and paste of the previous montage. I mean, there's only so many ways you can run or jump rope or stuff, but each one of these is still exciting. And that's the thing, you see the guy actually doing it, actually doing these things, one arm push ups, all that stuff. It's not the easiest thing to do. Now, I'm not saying Stallone would be able to go into a boxing ring and take care of some business, but definitely in shape. Banging that classic Bill Conti music. Now, you look at the body, I mean, let's put it this way. Look at this body and then look at, like, in Rambo 3. You could probably, tell that in Rambo 3, there's probably a little bit of additional stuff in there to showcase his body like that. Of course, you notice his t-shirt, Win, Rocky, Win. Win, which is what Adrian said, because that's what matters the most. Nice. Very nice. Nice use of the freeze frame. When I see the characters, it always reminds me of that funny bit where in Rocky 4 at the end, the kid is one age, and then when you go into Rocky 5, even though it's supposed to be like, I don't know, a few days or a week or whatever, the kid's aged like 5-6 years. Because I mean, from 80, because Rocky 4 is 85, 90. I guess they just, well, yeah, 5 years because but it's like, wait, that's in the movie. That's not how long this has been. Unless Rocky stayed over Russia for 5 years. Or he trained for 5 years and they had the fight in 1990. Of course, this is a little bit different from the first because people know who he is at this point. They know what he could be capable of. But now I don't know if you needed like all these kids. It was a bit. I don't know. I guess just something to be a bit different. It just seems like some after school special. Something I don't know. Can you imagine one of those kids in the back just tripped? Rocky ready to jump a bench. Man, imagine one of those kids tried to jump that bench. Fell flat on their face. But I guess they want to do this whole thing running up the steps, so have some. You have this one kid like trying to run fast. This kid in the red here, he's trying. He's trying. But yeah, great use of the music here. I just feel all the kids that just try to show a bit of a scope to it. I mean, I guess I'm naive. Would a lot of little kids care about boxing? I guess so. At this point, I guess so. You know, it's like kids back in the day watching, wrestling, especially when they thought it was real. And, watch boxing because it is real. Again, much different, more serious Apollo Creed in this one. And this is kind of reminiscent of Stallone in Rocky 4 when he had the picture of Ivan Drago and would stare at it. Because, yeah, Stallone had an Ivan Drago thing just like Apollo Creed has a Rocky here. Because, yeah, that montage where Stallone takes the thing, crumples it. Like I said, I don't think you need to kill off this character in Rocky 4. I mean, they could have done Kickboxer before Kickboxer, where, again, he could have been paralyzed or something to the sort. I think it would have worked out a lot better. Just if you want to do another one, you could utilize Carl Weathers if you wanted to. And it just felt like a redundancy of Rocky 3 when Mickey's character dies. So Mickey dies. Oh, now Apollo Creed dies. I think you could have had the same emotion with, a guy like Apollo Creed who's been a fighter who only thinks of boxing, that doesn't want to quit, and then he's forced to do it. And he's in a wheelchair, and he's forced to it, and that's some potential nice drama. A guy trying to deal with his new issue in life, which is something that happens to a lot of fighters. I think that's an untapped potential drama for Carl Weathers. And hell, I mean, that could have been part of the story as well. I mean, Rocky 4 is a pretty short film. An hour and 20-some minutes. It's at least the shortest of the Rocky films. I don't think people would have minded another, 15 minutes scattered of, Carl Weathers dealing with this, some drama build-up of him maybe get mad at his family or get mad at his wife and then not be able to deal, and then through Rocky living vicariously, sharing some knowledge, being there, whatever he could help heal his own bruised ego, however you want to put it. I mean, that's just me. I mean, as much as I like Rocky Balboa, how cool would it have been if he had Carl Weathers in that? And, Carl Weathers, training, Rocky. I mean, right, he did that in Rocky 3, to be fair. Yeah, I think it is in Rocky 5, because I think this guy does the same thing in Rocky 5, because he looks out the... And then he does this at the window. Yeah, I love it. I think it is Rocky 5 at the end. Of course, I didn't even mention John G. Avildsen, directed the first one, but he didn't come back. Now, he didn't come back because, number one, he was doing other movies at that time. And number two, I think... I read there was a script where Rocky was like the mayor, and then Burt Young did something, so he got fired, and kind of like what happened in Rocky 5. He kind of lost everything, was back to basics. And, again, I guess one of the reasons why John G. Avildsen came back for Rocky 5. Because I'm sure they thought Rocky 5 would be the last one. So have the director the first, do the last. Plus, I'm sure Judge Avildsen's like, after Karate Part 3 underperformed, he's like, I gotta do another film so that I can hopefully continue to have work. I would assume. But yeah, Adrian watching TV, I remember, I don't know if this is true at the end, there's no big documentaries on the film, that she was supposed to be at the fight, but I guess she was doing another film, and it's like, to save time, it's like, well, put you two in a room, very, much more simple to do. And that way she doesn't have to be with other people, Stallone and other stuff, and okay, just react, cheer, cry, all this other stuff, and it could be done in a short amount of time with a little, as less fuss as possible. That guy on the right there with the cigarette, I don't know why he looks like, well, I guess that cigarette looked like a cigarette. He looks like a melted Ronald Reagan or something. Okay, pause for a bit. So we're at 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 49 seconds. And sorry about that. This Blu-ray, I guess, has seen a bit better days. I mean, to be honest, it's been quite a few years since I've seen this Blu-ray, so I don't even know when this Blu-ray came out. Might have been around time of Rocky 6. They had the collection set. And Apollo Creed even himself said that it doesn't matter if people don't like me, it doesn't matter if people hate me. He wants to do this to prove to people, prove himself that he's the guy. And of course, if he's going to win a rematch, why not do it in his hometown where you don't have the crowd cheering even louder and bigger? Yeah, much more of a serious. That's the thing that I remember. I said before, I didn't watch the first film for many years. I remember watching Rocky 4 and seeing scenes in the montage like, what, is that Carl Weathers with the George Washington? Why is he dressed like that? And of course, then I figured, okay, it must be from the first one, but very nice yellow robes they got there. Very nice. Now I'm sure people could say that this is cliche or this is predictable. Like, okay, or they don't really have Rocky lose or have a draw again. If they're not, then what are they going to do? Oh, they don't do this. Okay, that's what they're going to do. But like I said, it's kind of, people want to see that. People like seeing that. It's comfort food, however you want to put it. So yeah, Joe Spinell, this is the last one he's in, because I don't remember him at all in Rocky 3. I said I don't know what the reason was for the split. Because I remember I can never find the picture, but one time I swear I saw a picture of Sylvester Stallone wearing a shirt of Joe Spinell's Maniac film. I thought it said like 80, 81, like when Sly was wearing the shirt. But I can never find that picture again. Yeah, we got about 20 minutes left for this battle. Watch your kidney punches, watch your rabbit punches, your lower corner Talia. I gotta imagine, like, these fights must be. I mean, they take a long time to do. They take a long time to choreograph because you got so much stuff. You're having to make sure you punch here, make sure you punch there. You don't really want to hit someone. You don't really want to knock someone down. You don't really want to hurt someone. So, again, just the amount of choreography and work to put into this is just insane. Like, all the stuff you have to remember. Man, I would assume you shoot in pieces. But still, I mean, yeah, get close enough to seem like they get hit. But then, don't hit them. And the sound effects are really good. I know people make fun of the sound effects now, saying they're too unrealistic. It's a film. It's meant to be a film. It's entertaining to have this type of sound effects work in there. I think it works well. I read somewhere that in one of these, it might be in the second round, like there's a bit where I guess the choreography was screwed up and they got really mad and angry with each other and was yelling at each other and they kept it in the movie. I'm gonna have to watch for that. I want to say is after the second round or something. Damn. At the end of the show, the Apollo Creed is much more of a serious, even after the first film, even after all the training, this is how serious Apollo Creed is that he's not goofing around. Of course, I'm sure people say, man, imagine if boxing was as exciting as these Rocky movies. When you get to the finale, like when you watch a actual boxing match. I don't know if it was that one or maybe the next one. That apparently there was a real issue going on. £200 Italian tank. Run them over. They're definitely hyped for this. And that's the thing is that, you do these fights, you have to choreograph it so it doesn't seem like it's just a copy that people have seen it before. So it's like, well, how do you do it this time to make it a bit different or to make it more unique or to make it seem as if, again, you're not just redoing the scenes over and over. Yeah, and Apollo Creed showed his speed. A little bit of him having fun. The second time he got knocked down. My Rock, you didn't think it'd be that easy. Again, just really exciting, well done fights. Of course, I mean, if you study them extensively, once in a while there's a punch that's not quite connecting, and hopefully the sound effect will, you'll disregard it or so forth. I mean, it doesn't help when you got HD format, so some of these punches a little bit more clearly that some of them are, you know, missing by this much. Yeah, I think that this is the big here that apparently there's a screw up and they're really yelling at each other. I think that was it there. I'm standing here. I think that was, for what I understand, that might have been like someone screwed up the choreography and they would get mad at each other. And then Stallone kept it in. The music definitely helps as well. And then the combination of these thunderous punches, of the sound effects, the rousing music, and the intensity of both actors, Stallone and Carl Weathers. They both worked very well together. You know, the speed of Apollo, the toughness of Rocky, speed versus heart, stamina versus tough. And see, like, I mean, they build it up like Apollo Creed is winning. He's winning with the points that all he has to do is just not go for broke, and he'll win. But Carl Weathers doesn't want to win by that. He wants to knock him down as part of the ego, as part of his journey of that. He doesn't want to win by decision. He wants to knock him down. Nice bits of slow-mo here. Of course, with this slow-mo, it has to look like actual impact. These thunderous hits. Boom. Boom. And great usage of slow-mo here. Great usage of it. Again, makes the much more impact during the hits here. And it's breaking Apollo Creed down a little bit. He's getting broken down a little bit. Chopping him down. But Apollo Creed ain't going down without a fight. But showing a bit of turmoil for Rocky's character. Yeah, things aren't going the best for him, it seems. Oof. Just thunderous hits. Tonight is twice as bad because Apollo is twice as serious. I mean, by the time it looks like Rocky's finished, but that's the point of Rocky, is that you know, how much do you want it? Mickey's like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? And that's the thing with the sequel, is that to make it seem like it's more of a journey for Rocky, he's got to take more of a beating. So in this, he's taking more of a beating than he did in the first one. And then Rocky 3, he just completely demolished until the rematch. And then Rocky 4, he takes like the most demolishment. Like just completely brutalized in Rocky 4. See, Tony Burton's like, don't go for the knockout, but Apollo wants to do that. As the announcer says, all he has to do is stay away, and he still wins the title and wins. But again, Apollo doesn't want that. He wants to knock him down with all the crap that he got. But it's too bad with Stallone's career and the fact that like only Rocky and then Rambo were the only films that were making money. Even though he made a lot of good films, like Nighthawks is a good one, Cobra I love, Over the Top I love, Lock Up is a really good one. Tango and Cash did okay, but wasn't like a $100 million blockbuster. But I think it did okay. But yeah, and I love Tango and Cash. Like I say, he did a lot of great movies that just didn't do well for whatever reason. Like I think Daylight is fun, that didn't do well. ICU, like I say, went straight to video, and I think that's a really good one. No, it was just chopping the guy down. Boom. So who's got more stamina? Who's got more? who wants it a bit more? Boom, with the left hand. Boom, another left, another right. His ego wanted to go toe to toe with him. Boom. Just back and forth right in the center, right in the stomach, chopping him down, going for the ribs, lifting him off his feet. I think this coming up where they both go down. I think right here. Yep. And that's the thing, when they did these sequels, a lot of times they would show the ending of the previous film to get the audience up to speed, because this is back to the day where VHS was not as prevalent. Maybe if you catch it on cable, maybe, but there was now a whole lot of options for people to revisit the film and remember what happened and what all happened during that whole thing. So the best way to do that would be with stuff like this, would be with things like this. And that's that was a way for people to do it. I try to build a bit of suspense. Who's going to get up top? Who's going to get there quick? Who's going to get there first? Of course, it's referenced in Rocky 3. You beat me by 1 second. Try to build suspense to the audience. Because he lost, he didn't quite win the first time, so who knows what will happen here, and then he does. But he still makes it a close call, not like a complete sweep or anything. But we're getting ready to end it here. And once again, Shawn, I apologize for all the issues that was going on. Doing the best that I can. But yeah, you have this great speech with Rocky to be one of the best ones. I think mainly is because of that last line, "Yo, Adrian, we did it." Which is referenced at the end of Rocky Balboa, where he says the same thing. "Yo, Adrian, we did it." "Yo, Adrian, I did it." I thought he said, well, I did, yeah, just as a point, he says "I did," and then Rocky Balboa says "we did it." Like, you wanted me to win, and I did win. And that was kind of the thing that people, in a way, wanted. Like, they wanted Rocky to win, and they got to be able to see that through this. And to be honest with Rocky films, like, you could have ended it at, I would say, the fourth film, and it would have been perfectly fine. But yeah, this is a worthy sequel. Again, that music, once again, thought they did a nice job with this version of the theme. And maybe not as powerful of a freeze frame as the first film. Holden, Adrian. It was hard to replicate that, but still a good one with a nice speech that helped. And yeah, a very good, worthy sequel, Rocky 2. Always enjoyed it ever since I was a kid. So with that said, thanks for watching, take care, and we will see you guys later.